everyone. Welcome to another episode of WYTPod, the online community for e-commerce entrepreneurs and business owners. Today we have a very special guest with us. He is the owner and creative director at D17 Clothing, and his name is Terrance Diggs. Terrance, thanks a lot for joining us today. How are you?
Doing well. Like we were talking about before, I had a great weekend, kind of recovering a little bit. I participated in the Baltimore Running Festival this weekend. So
Oh,
I wish I brought my 10K medal, but it's upstairs. So trying to get the legs back in, get the mind flowing and get some stuff done this week.
great. Send me a pic of you wearing that medal. We'll just paste it onto the YouTube channel.
I will.
All right, so you must be feeling good about that. All right, so just to help our viewers know you a little better, would you mind sharing a little bit of your background?
Yeah, so kind of just jumped in. My name's Terrance Diggs. I'm a designer, creative entrepreneur based out of the Baltimore area. Been doing this now about, I guess you say, 6+ years, especially on the entrepreneur side with D17. Kind of more back of my background was a design major back in undergrad. Really took a keen to marketing. Never really took the classes at the time, but I was in the marketing club, the American Marketing Association at Towson University, the student chapter for a long time, and eventually, and towards my professional career, I jumped into the professionals chapter out of Baltimore and still been designing, learning marketing ever since, driving every certification I can from SEO to ecom to design stuff. So trying to get my nowadays, I'm not doing as much design anymore, more or less just a lot of back end stuff, but just kind of all around trying to be, a master of everything and a jack of all trades, but got to know where my weaknesses are too. So.
Yeah, that's the trick, isn't it? Trying to do everything. It's tough.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, what was the inspiration for getting into retail apparel business, and what's the story behind the D17 brand?
Yeah, so I can kind of start with the first part of the question, like getting into retail and apparel. So back in undergrad, I used to always do designs, like always around campus for organizations where they need, t-shirts for an event that's going on, or they're doing like a student rally, something like that. And even before that, I've always been like the creative guy in school. Like if there was an art project that needed something done or illustration, I was always the guy that would do it. Or even in like elementary school, I would do uh like self portraits for like two fruit snacks at, at lunch. So I think I
Cool.
always had that design and like business side behind me. But kind of fast forwarding, I used to do a lot of freelance design for a lot of musicians, smaller clothing brands in like the Maryland, DC, Maryland, Virginia area, as well as doing it for businesses if they were looking for illustrations or design for t-shirts or merchandise. I was kind of doing that. And all of that led into me starting D17 as a brand in general. Just I've always been inspired from my background in athletics and design and really the forefront of community, being able to use sports to really uplift not only athletes, but the people around them, those that have more of a fashion take on apparel, those that have more of a performance take on it. We kind of mixed it together because the D17, obviously, my last name is Diggs. That's where the D came from. And the 17 was my number when I played sports. So,
I was going to
um,
guess that. I swear to God.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So going back at Oakwood Mills High, we always were taught like there's no place like home. We're always taught about community, helping each other. And it's pretty tight knit. So being able to kind of take those philosophies and tying that back in with the brand and really using it now to support a lot of grassroots athletic organizations of all sports, both women's and men's. We're kind of more on the soccer, running, basketball. I'm obsessed with pickleball now, so we're trying to get into that kind of niche, and then just tying it all
Pickleball.
back into. I don't know. It's
Pickleball's
something
on the rise, man.
I,
I've
I
never
I'm
heard of it.
obsessed.
I thought it was a fake thing at first, and then it's for real, though. I started
Nah,
looking into.
I'm obsessed. I love doing market research and really just seeing what people are looking for. And
Huh?
I was able to get in contact with a lot of athletes because they're also on the ground as well, and they're looking for sponsorships. So I'm like, hey, I have an active wear brand. I'm happy to listen to all your needs and constraints to create a product for you. And we're just kind of going from there. So always adjusting and adapting, even if it is a badminton mixed with tennis mixed with ping pong in every neighborhood around
Class
you.
on pickleball networking, I think, maybe, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of hidden ebooks and pickleball enthusiast websites, and there's actually you do a little Google search, you can find clubs and organizations that are around and they have events that are actually sponsored by, the MLP or the PPA, which is Major League Pickleball, or the Pro Pickleball Association. And they're always looking for sponsors. So I'm like, hey, if I can sponsor an athlete or even the event, I'm just happy to do it.
That's quite entrepreneurial of you. And what do they say? Thinking outside the pickle box, I guess.
Gotta
Cool.
love it.
That was a great answer. What's the story behind the brand? Well, that's a good story. Nice. All right. So, starting an e-commerce business, most people don't really realize how difficult it is and what's involved. So, can you share some of the challenges that you faced and how you overcame them?
Yeah, I'll definitely say, coming from more of the aesthetic side of things of e-commerce, and then going into more of like the actual practical part was probably the biggest challenge that I've had. Because I've always done like web design, like front end. That's great, like making it look pretty, making sure stuff is sized correctly, imagery, photography, stuff like that. But when you're kind of on your own, or your team is really small, it's definitely difficult trying to learn the back end and really um, do your like consumer research, because you might think the site looks pretty, but how does that kind of relate to the consumer when they're going to purchase a product? Like, how does it look like on the product page? How does it look like on your landing pages? Going back into whatever your analytics softwares are, whether it's Google Analytics or something, and seeing like what your bounce rates are. Because a lot of times people just think, hey, I have a t-shirt, I'm going to take a picture and upload it. And then you look at the numbers and you're like, why is no one purchasing it? Or then
Yeah.
you might find out that, your payment process wasn't working correctly, or it might not accept, these certain things, and being able to kind of go back and learn that and test a lot and be open to testing and constantly refreshing is one of the solutions of how I was able to overcome a lot of that. And as well, being able to always think of new ways that it's like putting yourself back in the consumer mindset. That's kind of what I always think about from the forefront, whether it is coming down to photography or trying to build out the whole kind of landscape of our site, of our shop. One, how can we make it easier to find us? Two, how can we make it easier to navigate? And three, how can we make it appealing enough that, people still want to come back, whether it's our content strategy, using your blog for SEO and really, showcasing sponsorships for us or partnerships, or just even stories of what goes on with the brand. And then also making sure, like, I think now for me, we're trying to expand a little bit more globally. How does the site translate in other languages? Are things still able to be understood from other consumers? Because we get a lot of traction from like England, Europe, and well as like Japan. So it's like, okay, how can we combat that? Because we can't ship there right now, but how can we still keep those site visitors in our kind of top level funnel, so that when the time comes, they know, like, here's how you can acquire a product. Here's how you can get in our maybe an email list or social media following, um, just to piece it all together holistically.
Yeah. So you want to keep them there, warmed up on the back burner.
Yeah, it might be a little longer than I want it to be, but at least it's eyes that I didn't think would happen. When you're first starting and jumping in, it's like, you look at the numbers, it's like, wait a minute, why am I getting so many things from like London and Tokyo and New Delhi and Sri Lanka? Like, wait a minute, all these people are finding me. So it's like, okay, there's some type of interest, whether it's authentic or not, something is there pinging you, and just being able to make those decisions, whether it's beneficial for the business or it's just, just new eyes that you can create around.
Yeah, a lot of websites block traffic from those URLs, but
Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
always thought it's better to invite everyone, have a big funnel, and like you said, whenever you're ready to ship, then you have ready-made customers just waiting in the wings for you. So I think it's a good
Oh
strategy.
yeah. Oh yeah, the best part.
How are you marketing? How do you get the word out? How do you drive people to your website? I don't know.
So right now we're pretty much primarily on social media. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're trying to jump into TikTok now just because of the reach from it. Um, we'll do a little bit of email, like collecting off the website. A lot of it comes from a lot of grassroots, just our partnerships. They really help a lot, especially with SEO. Like if it's an event, we're always trying to backlink everything to come back to us. Or just a lot of content creation, a lot of video, a lot of photography, being able just to funnel us back. We're not too big right now on paid ads, but we use a lot. So we're on Shopify, and being able to utilize a lot of their like free tools, whether it's like Google listings, that's been amazing. Like people, because people are always just looking, and we're able to get stuff from the shop. It doesn't buy directly off of Google. It just takes us back to the website, which is great just to have another listing on something. And then we'll do pop-ups every now and then, and just like a kind of little QR code to follow on social media, which is, a lot of sharing, and a lot of people are really just get the word for us out that way.
Outstanding. All right, what would you say separates your products from the competition's?
Yeah, so this one is always very interesting making athletic wear because I'm not Nike and I'm not Adidas. And it's kind of difficult when you're down the street from Under Armour. I'm probably like 20 minutes from the
Oh, no kidding.
headquarters. Yeah, so around here, those brands obviously are pretty huge. And even like over the weekend running the Baltimore Running Fest, it was all sponsored by Under Armour. I was like, man, this would be great if I could help sponsor some of this stuff. But
Yeah.
they're obviously one of the giants in the game. But I would say one or two things actually that separate us, at least from the competition, is a lot of our stuff is made domestically in the United States, which helps with getting shipping out quickly. If anything kind of breaks, we see everything from end to end, from when the fabric comes in to when they're printing it, how it's being shipped, the most carbon neutral way because it's made in Nevada and LA, but I'm in Maryland. So, obviously that has to go across the country. And I will say as well, we always try to focus on the athlete and really kind of what people are doing, whether it's more of the performance or even more of the, I guess you could say like cozy or just everyday essential side.
Mhm.
Um, Being able, we'll always try to innovate in some way. So I think when we get into later questions, whether it's a hoodie, what can we adjust based off what people are saying? What new products can we bring to the table? And being able as well to use some of the best materials that we can find. So right now, one of our sweatpants follows, it's called the GOTS, the Global Organic Textile Standard, which means that the fabric is all organically sourced, and the dyes in it are like nothing harsh or anything crazy. And being able to just present that to people, like, yeah, they always ask, where do you get the cotton from? I'm like, oh, it's down in North Carolina in the big old cotton field with the windmills and stuff. And I was like, we're trying to put it on our website, like a live view of it so people can see like the windmill and all the fun stuff moving around.
That'd be
Um,
sweet.
yeah, because we're just extremely transparent about stuff, which I think a lot of people like, not only about the product but just like how to acquire it. Because one thing that we did back on the innovating side was we put a whole shipping and tracking um, like filters and landing page on our site. So instead of having to go to UPS, which we use primarily, you can track everything stop by stop on the website, which people enjoy because they like to see where it is, where it's going. They can track it via their phone or sign up for SMS texting. And as well, just being able, back on the product side, we always use any packaging, we use recycled materials, whether it's a bag or if it's on a label, just being able to reduce waste as much as we can, because fashion and apparel can be like extremely wasteful, especially when it comes to sampling and inventory sizes. We usually try to keep things pretty low. And then always try to keep things contemporary, but still kind of trendy, not really following it too much, but really trying to elevate people's style, whether it's on or off the field.
Cool. I think, yeah, sustainability and a low carbon footprint, the market for people like that is growing a lot.
Hmm.
People care about that now, a lot more than they used to. I know a couple of years ago, I never really thought about it. Now, if I order a package on Amazon, it comes and it's got like a box this big for an item this big, and I just feel terrible about it. I feel guilty. So,
Well, it's also one thing that I always try to think about when I'm doing like fulfillment. It's always like I'll get something like I ordered from like another company, and I'm like, wait a minute, we put a box in another box, so technically you're paying for three boxes for
yeah,
one thing. So even like on the sustainability kind of like eco side, when COVID was still like, everybody had masks on. I know things are a little bit more open now, but we did a lot of local drop offs, especially for our local customers. So we had like a little outdoor, like you can just come grab it instead of someone having to deliver it to you. You could come grab it yourself. They had tote bags and everything that they could take with them.
yeah.
They just had to schedule when to come get it. And it just made it a lot easier. One, for the shipping. So it's not that I have to go from where I mailed it to UPS to go mail it in another truck that's riding around all over the city to go to them, when it's like, okay, you can just come get it on your own time. Some people walked, they biked to come get their stuff. And it's nice to just be able to see the audience as well as kind of gaining onto it, and they're for it. So that's the fun part.
Imagine those are the coolest people, the ones that ride their bike to come pick up the package. Those are the kind of people, you might want to sit down and have a cup of coffee with, right? So,
Yeah, I try to go riding with them. I tried to get an e-bike like 2 years ago. I have not been successful yet, but I wanted to be around riding on my bike around the city like a little courier with my stuff in the bag, just delivering packages. But we haven't fulfilled that dream just yet.
that's so cool. What are your best sellers? What do people like the most?
Um, Yeah, so I actually have them behind me, which is great. I did a little bit of research on the podcast, and I was like, let me actually bring some of the stuff. So just a couple of things I have here. This is our essential socks. They're cayenne colored. Just a nice crew vintage sock. You can see here we also have the recyclable labels as well. It's just regular old cardboard that they just print on top with the water-based ink, as well as we kind of use the recyclable plastic as well when just like transporting it. For some reason, people love these. They're durable. They're used for like a multitude of reasons, whether it's just casual kind of moving around. I take them hiking with me, which is great. And I tell people you can beat them up, throw them in the washer, and they'll come out just fine. So that's always great. And then these two more things I have here. This was our army green kind of cozy or hoodie, which actually has a puff print design on it. So it actually kind of elevates off. It's kind of hard to see, but it kind of elevates off of the fabric. And has a texture to it. So
Um,
this was one of our products when we were on Complex Magazine 2 years ago.
oh
The
yeah,
host said he loved these, and
that's
they
cool.
went out great. People, yeah, people love the color. Usually everything I always made was black because I tried to do my too much consumer research. And I was like, nobody wants the other colors. They just want the black, the black shirts, the black pants. And then we kind of just kept with it. And I was like, let's introduce Army Green. And everybody loved it.
Yeah,
And then I guess like yeah,
I
it's a
think
great.
people do want colors beside black, but they just don't realize it. I know I'm one of them. Like I always buy a black phone, for instance, every time. I got a
Mhm.
silver phone last time, so if it's there, but I would tell you, I would wear the heck out of that hoodie. That's really
It's
nice.
it's immaculate. I have to bring some of them back and I have to send you one. And then our final kind of like best piece. This was from um 2020. This was our like run club jackets. This was a sample, so don't mind if stuff's falling off. But it had 3M printing on the back as well, just for visibility for the runners. And actually, it actually folds into a little pouch that you can put it in. And usually, I run with like a fanny pack. So usually, if you get too hot, you can kind of pull it off and put it into a pouch that's foldable. It's probably about this large in size, has a little string on the end that you
Yeah.
can just put together and just hold on, or you can put your wallet, your phone in it. So it's nice that it serves a dual purpose, and people just like the huge visibility logos on the back. So if they're running, you can be seen, and just safety and stuff too, because you don't want to be, if you're running at night or even in the morning, just got to be safe out here. If you're trying to do like road running and stuff like that.
Sure. Hot pink. It's pretty cool. All right. Nice stuff.
Thanks.
Look, you got a lot going on, I noticed. You're juggling a lot of balls. So how do you keep everything running smoothly? Any, any insight
I
on
I will say, me personally, I'm very terrible at keeping my attention in one spot because I'm always so inspired by so many things that I'll go on a tangent on one or 1,000 things at once. So I could be working on a design and I'm like, okay, this will take me maybe 2 hours. And then I'm like, okay, I'll just be scrolling the internet and I'm like, ooh, what is this new Shippo features that I can use? And I'm like, oh crap, let me go research that. And I'll go off on another tangent or a third tangent or an eighth tangent, which will still not be the most productive, but because our team is so small and I'm kind of like running a lot of it alone at the moment. But
that?
I will say, and I do have it with me, thankfully, I'm a big proponent of just getting a notebook or like a huge calendar to write stuff down, especially for me, like ideas wise. So, like, you get a little 5-star little notebook you can put in your backpack, or like I keep it in my little tote bag when I'm on the road. And I'm always just like, writing everything, whether it's a good thought, a bad thought, anything that's on my mind. Like, okay, I need to work on this for the website. I need to work on this for packaging. I need to work on this for talking to my manufacturer. I had a design idea. Let me try to like just draw it out to see what happens. Or even if it's like our sponsorships, I'm writing all the values down for how much it'll cost before I put it in like a spreadsheet, like an Excel document or something. It just helps me because I can bring the book with me versus I don't like doing it on my phone because I'll type it on my phone and then I'll slide up. And I'm like, oh, my friend sent me a text. Now I'm on TikTok for 3 hours. I had to tweet it 4 times. And I'm like, what was that? What was I doing again? And so that just helps me keeps things running smoothly. And I guess a second part to that is identifying my weaknesses early. That was my biggest
Mm,
problem in terms of like growth of the business, like getting trademarks, setting up, um, the business entity. Copywriting is not my strongest skill, and being able to like, okay, what can I do to like hire out things that I don't have to take 2 months to worry about that might take somebody a week to do. Because I have a friend, my friend George, he's an amazing writer. And it's great to have friends that really support you. And I'm like, bro, can you just help me write a blog? Like it only has to be like 500 words, XYZ to, about this. And he's able to translate it, beautifully versus me trying to sit here on Grammarly trying to write a blog post. But now I've moved time somewhere else and I can open it to do what needs to be finished, whether it's on the phone with the manufacturer or if it's I'm working on a design in general. I don't have to worry about creating something and doing like something technical at the same time. So that's
sure.
helped me personally keep it a lot smoother. And really just now, if I had a bigger team, that'd be awesome, but we're still kind of getting there. But it still keeps things progressing forward that it's not too much for me to handle, but it's also enough that I feel like things are moving at a correct pace. And even if like sending an email. Like even I'll put stuff in the drafts if I'm sending an email, and I'm like, okay, I'll finish it in the morning. Just take like an hour before I, start my day just to knock it out real quick, and then just go from there. So that's definitely what makes it a lot smoother, at least for me.
Yeah, great. Actually, that's a theme that I hear from many entrepreneurs that it's so huge to just find a few people you can trust and then actually give them work, you know,
Mm,
just, trust the results are going to come back. That's huge because you can't do everything. Spider-Man can't do everything all by himself. I mean,
yeah, you can't. And I'm a big Batman guy, and like he still had to have Jeff Gordon at the Gotham City Police to help him out, or even Spider Man. Like he still had J. Jonah Jameson collecting his content for the for
there you
the
go.
internet, to
There you
get his
go.
name out in case he did something wrong. But
Huh.
and it's funny because I have like Marvel artwork all on my wall. So you gotta have a team to really break it down. And ours is still pretty small. Most of it is just like friends, and we'll do a lot of contract work, especially when it's like with photographers or having partnerships like with studios in the area, and working with just an array of people. It could be male and female models, maybe a female photographer, up and coming design agency, being able to make those connections while we're all still kind of building is amazing. Especially when it's like, hey, I need a brand video for, telling our story. And it could be an agency that it's like, well, we haven't had a client yet. And I'm like, hey, I'll be the first one. You can test it out with me and see how it goes. Give me a good rate and stuff like that. But it's nice to be able to use those and kind of build that team in a way. So when stuff is coming out, whether it's a new product or a launch, I know who to tap when I want to get stuff moving,
Yeah.
and just let it do its thing.
So you help people get started.
Yeah, because a lot of people helped me. Like I remember starting, um, I had 5 T-shirts that I got. I think I got the blanks from Michael's, like an art store, and I just went and made them myself. I got a buddy of mine that the photographer, I actually knew the neighbor, but I went with the neighbor because I knew her because she got a tattoo done. So I sat with her for 6 hours getting a tattoo done, and we were just talking. And she's like, "Don't you have? Are you trying to make clothes?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm trying my best. But I'm not a photographer." She's like, "My neighbor's a photographer," and then she put us in contact, and I got 4 of my friends and my little sister to go to the mall and take a bunch of pictures. So it's like being able to build those connections, and even now, like if my friends need anything, I always try to jump in, and they're kind of like my creative directors in a way. Is I'll send them like a screenshot of the sample tee that came out or something, and I'm like, everyone, please tell me if this is not good. Let me know, because in my artistic mind, anything I touch is golden. But if it's not, please let me know before I manufacture this whole thing and make this whole campaign. And everyone's like, what is he trying to make? I'm like, no, I gotta ask my friends first, ask my little sister first, because she's my true manager. And then
She'll tell you the truth.
yeah, then she'll be like, this is awful. And I'm like, what's wrong with it? And she'll kind of tell me, because she was an athlete as well, played basketball for years, at the NCAA level, high school and everything. So um if she, when we tried to get into basketball, I was like, what are some things that you didn't like that, weren't working for you, or design wise or aesthetic wise? And she was able to kind of walk me through it. Um, and being able to kind of do that. And she's a coach. And I was like, hey, I'll make some tees for the kids, and, make some shirts for the kids before they warm. They're only middle school, but they love it too. As long as they like it, I don't really care.
That's the warmth, man.
Oh yeah.
Terrific. All right. Well, Terrence, finally, you've already given us so much, your vision and some practical tips, but is there any other advice that you have for entrepreneurs who want to get started in the e-commerce game?
I would definitely say the one bit of advice if you're just getting started, for me personally, is always utilize your networks. I mean, we're here because of LinkedIn. I'm on a lot of Twitter like communities that are like B2B startup founders or direct to consumer startup founders and stuff like that. Being able to access those communities kind of early so you can see and ask questions before you kind of jump into things. And it could be small stuff like, what platform should I start on? Am I a Shopify person? Am I Squarespace, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, stuff like that? Wix, whatever works for you. Because I always try to tell people just like the harsh truth that like, don't jump into anything or always take like the first thing you hear, because it might not work for you at the moment. Especially like on the product side, because there's always questions like, where do you get this printed? Where do you get this printed? And I'm like, well, I can tell you, but some of these places, the MOQ is going to be too high for you right now. Like you're not going to be able to get away with that. It's going to cost too much. You're going to have to do way too much around it. You don't want to like shoot yourself in the foot too early.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of the second thing I always tell people, like, um, don't always think that everyone's going to love your stuff, especially on the product side. People are, they're going to have, you're going to get a bad review eventually. Now, everybody wants a 5-star on every product and,
Yeah.
Google and stuff like that, but someone's not going to like it. And it's not a knock to you. It's just like maybe the product wasn't built for them. Or if it is something more practical, always take it to ear. Cause like we had a thing way back with the website. I personally did not like the way that the product images were coming up. I'm like, they're coming up blurry and weird, but like I just had to get something out. And I would get a lot of complaints, people saying, well, I want to buy something, but I can't really see it too well on the website, because we're not taking the correct product photography or the resolution's too big. It's a huge picture and we have to shrink it down and make sure everything is templatized and correct, because a lot of people are now shopping on mobile. So I need to worry about both of those things.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess like the final piece of advice is just have fun. Like whatever you're making, obviously, be practical with it, but just have fun and keep doing it. We all love, I know for me, like getting a little Shopify notification and I'm like, whoo, sold something. Or, I get like 10 or I get, 15 or something like that. Keeping that drive, like it's still day one. Like me, I'm currently in my basement. Now I'm moving to an actual warehouse slash studio. So it's like, don't try to think you're going to just be the next, Off-White or something for at least the streetwear fans tomorrow. Like things will fall into place when they're ready. Cause now I'm like, okay, I need a warehouse. I need better fulfillment. I need to be able to shoot, photography a lot quicker. And now we're able to do that. So I'm glad I was, in this position now versus trying to be like 21 and doing all this, because I would have messed it all up at that time. But now I have a little bit more like experience in my outside work, like what I would do 9 to 5, my time at ASICS, being able to do that on the sportswear side, my time even working at Donor Search on the philanthropy side. Like I learned how to build community there. I learned at ASICS how to do, more of the sportswear and the real basis of athletic apparel. And then now it's like, okay, I can take all that stuff, mix it together, have fun, do what I like doing, and still selling a product. Um, it's just fun. And I just like e-commerce. I like looking at the numbers at the end of the day.
Sure thing. Well, you certainly seem like you're enjoying yourself.
I
So,
am. I am. And mine is the boxes. I hate looking at the boxes. So that's why I'm
well,
hoping in the warehouse it'll be a lot more transparent, because I'm like, okay, I'm sick of looking at the boxes. So it's got to get moved over. But now once we fully get everything out and sorted, it'll be fine. I can, visually see it versus trying to like dig through a whole bunch of
yeah,
stuff.
almost there. You have all your shelves set up and laser
Oh
sight.
yeah. Once I get a nice firm desk and my studio lighting, I can just call a friend. I'm like, hey, just pull up to the warehouse. Let's just click, 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 do this thing real fast. I can turn it into a social post, whatever, a TikTok, super easy without having to like, go here, then here, then here, then here. Cause that's just a part of me that I'm good at because I have the technical ability to do the photography and the design. So it's like I can kind of do it myself or get someone else to help. Um, so it's nice that we can work a lot faster and a lot more efficient within the time constraints that we're either stuck in, or it's like, okay, I had this idea, I can get printed in a week, we can shoot it real quick, get the boxes, boom, done. Versus it being, a 3 month cycle, I can kind of cut it to at least, 30-day type of thing.
Sure. Cool. Well, Terrence, I really very much appreciate your time and insights, and I know our audience is going to appreciate it as well. It's great spending time with you. Thanks a lot for coming on.
For sure. Yeah. Happy Monday. Anybody that's listening, I hope you enjoy. I'm a little bit of a rambler. So hopefully there's little nuggets and pieces that they can pull from it. And, Mark, thank you for turning this around and having me on.
Lots of good stuff in there. Never
Oh,
fear.
yeah,
Really good.
definitely.
All right, you take care. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You too. Have a good one.